When I first started this channel 7 years ago, I was on WW Weight Watchers, and a lot of my content revolved around eating on that plan and losing weight. You would have had to have been with me a very long time to remember that, like 5 or 6 years at this point, because over time I started to shift my content just to more kind of regular, basic, day-to-day, kind of like your standard nutrition, standard meal plans and grocery hauls. As my family grew, as my goals changed, as our season in life kind of, transitioned. Well, my husband and I decided a couple months back that we wanted to ease into eating just a little bit more of an anti-inflammatory style diet for a little while to see if it can help address some health concerns of his. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in the next video. But the interesting thing about it is, as I did a little research and I started to make, a plan for meals and pick out recipes, a lot of the foods that are great on that particular diet were also things that I ate frequently on Weight Watchers. Many of them were even on their quote 0 points foods list. Things like lean proteins and whole grains like oatmeal, and lots of fruits and vegetables, and healthy dairy like Greek yogurt and cottage cheese. Well, I have some health goals too that I am tackling, especially now that I feel like we are through a season in our life the last couple of years that have included a lot of transition. I actually have some bandwidth and some mental headspace to kind of zone in on these goals. And it does include just a little bit of weight loss. But this time it's less about making my body look a certain way and more about making my body feel a certain way and taking care of it properly as I get older. But I don't want to eat a completely different diet for my family, and I don't want to put them on a completely different diet. I still want to run just kind of a standard everyday kitchen. So I thought I would share with you some things that I purchased, some of my favorite items that I eat from day to day that help me with these goals, and that are really just kind of small changes, not specialty things that I have to, order on the internet or something, and not really crazy drastic changes that look dramatically different from the stuff that my family is eating, but the kinds of things that are helping me meet my goals in a sustainable way and still maintain just a standard everyday kitchen for my family. I also want to say right now that I am not a medical professional. I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist. I'm just like a regular mom trying to navigate this world, and this video isn't meant to be prescriptive. It's just meant to give some ideas to show you what I'm doing. You can take it or leave it. I'm actually making some breakfast right now, and this is a pretty common breakfast or snack for me. I'm making a fruit and yogurt bowl. Greek yogurt is definitely a thing that I keep in my refrigerator all the time, whether I'm trying to lose weight or change my nutrition or not. Sometimes I buy the cups that are already flavored or have the fruit in them. We eat those, the kids eat those. But my favorite and the most versatile, because I can use it in so many different ways, is just plain Greek yogurt, and I try to buy the whole milk Greek yogurt. Aldi carries whole milk Greek yogurt. I think the Better Goods brand at Walmart is pretty good. Of course, the gold standard in my opinion is Faye. I know it's expensive, but I still pick that up if I can't find those other two, or sometimes I just pick it up because I like it. I think it's the best. Now, I do use Greek yogurt as sour cream. It's a good replacement for that, like for putting on salads or tacos or in burritos or on like an egg scramble or something if you're a person who likes sour cream on those things. When I am making like yogurt parfaits, I do want to sweeten it a little bit, and you can use honey. When you're trying to stay in a calorie deficit though, like using honey is kind of difficult because it's pretty high in calories. Some people like to use like a little bit of sugar-free jello or a little bit of sugar-free pudding mix, but honestly that changes the texture of the yogurt too much for me. So I've shared this so many times, but I use just a little sprinkling of one of these like water flavoring packets that come in different flavors. Just a smidge of this goes a long way to flavoring and sweetening the yogurt. And then I top it with some fruit. Today I'm using a little bit of chopped up peach, and I like a little bit of crunch in my yogurt bowls, so I'll put just a little bit, tablespoon or two of granola on top of that, and that is my breakfast or a snack or a lunch. I mean, really, it's pretty versatile. It could be a dessert too. Another frequent flyer for me when I'm trying to eat a little healthier, and especially for breakfast, are oats. I have some old-fashioned oats. These are quick cooking oats. I love steel cut oats, even though they take a while to cook. They're a little bit more of a hassle than these others. My favorite way to eat oatmeal is just hot oatmeal. I especially love steel cut oats when they're cooked because they're kind of like chewy, And then I drizzle a little bit of melted peanut butter over the top, slice up a banana, and sprinkle just a little bit of pink salt or sea salt over the top. It's my favorite. But oats are so versatile. There's so many things you can do with them because you can make overnight oats. You can turn them into smoothies. You can put them in pancake recipes. A lot of people are starting to make savory oats where instead of making them sweet, you add things to them to make them savory or salty. I just like them because like they're a really good vehicle for other things. They fill me up because there's 4 grams of fiber, for instance, in each serving of these steel cut oats. So that's just, you know, common frequent flyer in my pantry, especially right now. Sometimes it's really overwhelming the amount of information out there about nutrition and the different diets and nutrition lifestyles. And sometimes it's difficult to discern, okay, this one says I should eat meat and this one says I shouldn't eat meat, and so on and so forth. But I feel like every single nutrition plan I come across does agree on one thing, and that is that we all would benefit from eating a considerable amount of fruits and vegetables. And I have mentioned this before, that I've kind of figured this out as I've gone through the years making budget cooking and budget shopping content. But we tend to spend about 25 to 30% of our grocery budget on fruits and vegetables, fresh, frozen, and canned. We're actually towards the end of a grocery shopping cycle. I'm getting ready to go to the store today to purchase some things for my daughter's birthday party and also to restock some items. But even given that, right now in our fruit drawer, we have some blueberries, we have some peaches, we have some apples, a few mandarins. In the veggie crisper, we have a little bit of salad greens, we have carrots, cucumbers, I have celery and onions because I use those for cooking. A couple bananas hanging out there that are actually the perfect ripeness. This is exactly how I like them to be when I eat them. I don't like them green. Right now in my freezer, I can see that I have some broccoli. I have some California medley. This is a really good one. I get this one from Aldi. Also some frozen green beans. What I like to do with these is cook them, you know, steam in the bag or boil them on the stove. I usually sprinkle just a little bit of Parmesan cheese on them. With the green beans, I'll put just a teeny bit of butter or oil in the bag, shake it up, and then add some Parmesan cheese and breadcrumbs. This is actually one of my favorite ways to add vegetables to a meal. This is riced cauliflower. I will just cook this up according to the package directions, and then I add it to soups. I add it to burrito bowls. I mix it in with regular rice, so I can do like a half portion of regular rice and then some of this, and then still kind of have that bulk in the meal. It basically, in my opinion, takes on the flavor of whatever you're putting with it. So it's just really good to add to things, and I hardly even know it's there. But it's adding, you know, some vegetables, it's adding a few grams of fiber, and I'm getting that serving of veggies in that way. Also, frozen fruit. My kids really like to make smoothies. I'm not as into the smoothie thing, but I really like especially peaches and mango. I will pull some of these out and put them in a bowl, just let them thaw for, you know, a couple minutes, 5 minutes or so, and then I'll just eat them. It takes a long time to eat them, and it's kind of like having a popsicle, except it's fruit. Like it's whole fruit, you know, there's nothing added in here. There's no sugar added or syrup added or anything. It's just frozen fruit. And in my pantry right now, y'all already know that I use a lot of canned tomatoes and stuff in recipes, but another just frequent veggie when I just want to get a veggie in, and everybody likes these, especially my kids, just canned green beans. You know, just open it up, heat them up on the stove, little salt and pepper, they're ready to go. Sometimes when I have that kind of, you know, like I really want to have something to eat, or I'm trying to tide myself over till dinner and not spoil my dinner, I'll just heat up a can of green beans with some salt and pepper and eat it kind of like a snack. And since we're standing in the pantry, I'll go ahead and mention beans. I use these a lot in my cooking anyway, but especially when I'm trying to eat a little healthier, sometimes I'll sub out some of the meat in the recipe and use some beans instead. It's one of those foods that has, you know, a few grams of fiber and a few grams of protein per serving. It's really hard to like overeat beans, you know what I'm saying? So we like black beans, we like pinto beans. Sometimes I'll make them from dry beans in the crock pot and do like, you know, beans and rice. Obviously I use these a lot in soups. My family has really been on a chickpea kick lately. They've decided that they like chickpeas, and I was using these a lot in the summer, especially in like, you know, pasta salads or something like that to kind of bulk it up. And also they're big fans of refried beans. If I heat these up and add just a few tablespoons of Greek yogurt, like plain Greek yogurt or sour cream, maybe a little bit of cheese, you can have kind of like a bean dip, you know? And if I'm making bean dip, I need something to dip it in, right? To dip in it. So I have been using these Good Thins crackers in a lot of different ways. You've seen these so many times. I've known about these for years, but I've really been picking them up a lot more lately. We're big fans of tortilla chips. In fact, it's really the only kind of chip that I keep pretty much all the time in my pantry. We don't have a lot of other chips all the time, just occasionally. But 1 ounce, 28 grams of these chips, which, you know, is only gonna be about 10 chips or so, is 160 calories and 9 grams of fat. 30 grams, about an ounce of these Good Thins crackers is 120 calories and 1.5 grams of fat. And you get about 40 crackers for that amount. So I just think it's like a better deal. It gives me that crunch that a tortilla chip gives, and it also is like a vehicle for delivering other food to my mouth, like I would use chips for. But I get a lot more bang for my buck, you know what I mean? Now, that's a good substitute for tortilla chips for me. And I have a few others like that on my list, but one of the things that I try to do is not to just substitute everything. I try to make sure that I'm also practicing moderation. If I am always just looking for a, you know, lower calorie or lower carb or whatever it is that will fit within my nutrition plan substitution for something I overate frequently, then I'm not really learning moderation. I'm not changing the habit that I need to change over time. Today's video is sponsored by Spanx, and Spanx is not just a shapewear company anymore. They have elevated essentials for your everyday wardrobe that are ultra flattering, that are comfortable, and that are super versatile. You know, when you've got a limited amount of time in the morning, you're trying to get everybody else ready and out the door, so you need something quick to throw on for yourself so you can feel put together. I know some of you moms out there know exactly what I'm talking about, right? This is the Air Essentials quarter zip in a large. It's in the color Smoke, which I absolutely love because it's kind of a soft brown. And then I have on the slim flare pant in very black. They are buttery smooth, super soft and comfortable. And I'm wearing these in a petite large, which is the absolute perfect size and length. It pairs perfectly with a tennis shoe. I'm 43 years old. I am 5'5". I weigh about 160 pounds. I would consider myself moderately fit. I mean, I'm pretty active, but I've decided in the last few years that I'm not gonna chase the body I had in my 20s. I'm gonna learn to love and care for and dress the body that I have right now. If you are an elder millennial having difficulty giving up your skinny jeans like me, I totally get it. Skinny jeans are like naturally sculpting. I feel like these pull-on flare jeans from Spanx are a really good middle ground because they pull me in and give me the support that I want across the belly, hip, and thigh, but they flare out at the bottom, which adds a lot of symmetry to my curvy body. One of the things I love about Spanx is that in many of their items, they offer petite sizes. And I find that a petite large is a really great size for me because it gives me the coverage that I need across the bust and the hip and the thighs. But getting the petite instead of the standard gives me the correct length in the sleeves, in the rise, and in the length. If I could give one recommendation for your capsule wardrobe this next season, it would be this dress right here. Not only is it super flattering, it's very comfortable. I mean, it's very soft and buttery smooth to the touch, but it's not flimsy or thin. I can tell it's very well constructed and it fits beautifully. I'm wearing a petite large right here, and I love that I can keep it casual with just some tennis shoes, maybe even throw on a hat, or I can dress it up with some heels, a belt, and some accessories. Right now, new customers can enjoy 15% off plus free shipping on your first order when you follow the link in the description box below and you use my discount code SMMX Spanx. Again, the website is linked in the description box below, or you can scan the QR code right here and use my code SMMX Spanx for 15% off plus free shipping on your first order for new customers. And thank you again to Spanx for sponsoring today's video. A couple of other things that I am using a lot right now from my refrigerator. We're big cheese fans. I'm sure you figured that out if you have watched my videos for any length of time. I use cheese in a lot of recipes. We've been using a little bit of feta, where we might sprinkle on, you know, a lot of cheddar cheese in previous meals and previous recipes, because just a little bit of this goes a long way. Like a serving size is a 1/4 cup. There's 4 tablespoons in a 1/4 cup. You really only need 2 of this, like sprinkled over the top of some pasta or on a salad or in a burrito bowl or something like that. And it's really salty and flavorful, so you don't need as much. And that's why, you know, we've been buying this because we can use less of it than the other kinds of cheeses than we would usually use. And I know everybody knows about the Fairlife milk. It's ultra filtered milk, so they have concentrated the protein in it. This is the skim milk, the fat-free, but they also have a 2%. I usually just buy what they have available because a lot of times they're out of one or the other. But 1 cup of this milk is 80 calories with 13 grams of protein. And if I'm trying to up the protein in, say, like my oatmeal bowl, I can make it using some of this milk and, you know, add some protein to it. Or I can make, you know, some sugar-free pudding with this milk, have a little bit of protein in that snack or in that dessert. And I just find that I still need milk, like for recipes and things like that. So this is one of the things that I've been using. And then of course, there's cottage cheese. I really feel like cottage cheese has been having a moment the last few years, but I've known about it for years. My dad has been eating cottage cheese my whole life. I mean, as a little girl, I remember that was the thing my dad would eat for lunch. He would come home from work for lunch and to do like some administrative work for his business on the computer, and he would almost always have a bowl of cottage cheese. So we always had it in the house growing up, which is why it's so funny for me to watch people discover how amazing cottage cheese is, because I've known for a long time. But I use this in recipes. I will put it on top of like a burrito bowl or a rice dish and use those corn chip crackers to dip into it. I mean, there's just so many different things you can do with this, or I'll just like eat it, like stand at the counter and eat a few forkfuls. If I'm really hungry, I'll just eat it right out of the tub. Of course, the gold standard for cottage cheese, at least in my opinion, is Good Culture. I have a hard time finding it. I can usually find it at Whole Foods, Sprouts, or Target if it is in stock. They carry it, but a lot of times they're out. I'm gonna look for it today when I go shopping because I've gotta go buy Sprouts for something specific. And what I'm going by Sprouts for are the Just Bare chicken fillets. These are the chicken strips. We have the nuggets. They also carry a fillet, and the last time I picked those up and made them, my family was like, Mom, these are amazing. These are the closest thing to a Chick-fil-A chicken patty that I've ever had. They're really easy to make in the air fryer. We almost always have some kind of this product in the freezer. The kids will make them in the morning and pack them in their lunches. We chop them up and put them on salads. A little over 3 ounces is 170 calories with 17 grams of protein and only 6 grams of fat, as opposed to other kinds of, you know, chicken strips or ones that you might get at a restaurant that are deep fried. These are, in my opinion, you know, a little better option, at least for us right now, and everybody in the family really, really likes them. Another thing that I find really helpful to keep on hand when I'm trying to lose weight or meet some kind of nutrition goal is a backup plan. Some kind of meal, preferably from a can or from the freezer, that meets my particular nutrition standards for the time. Because we all have those days when things do not go as planned and dinner didn't get made and we don't have any leftovers, or we just got back from a trip, or, you know, several long days at work and haven't had time to go to the grocery store. And having something we can just pull out from the freezer and heat up, or pull out from the pantry and throw together, can make the difference between, you know, having something that helps us stay with our goals, or, you know, giving in and getting something that is not very helpful towards our goals, like takeout or going through the drive-thru or something. In that same vein, it is really helpful for me to have some grab and go options, particularly a protein shake that I like, and or a protein bar that I like. Some kind of like grab and go that I can eat like in the car. There are so many times when I haven't, you know, had time to sit down and have a meal, and I've got to go over to the basketball game or the volleyball match or the swim meet, and there's a concession stand there, but they're not gonna have like a lot of great options for me right now. So being able to just grab like a Fairlife protein shake, or I also really like the Nuri vanilla shakes that I got from Sam's last time, or be able to grab, you know, a favorite protein bar, maybe even stick it in my purse, so that I'm not as tempted to just completely throw in the towel and just eat whatever is available around me, whether it fits within my nutrition plan or not. For somebody like me who is a chronic snacker, it's important to address that habit and occasionally just go without. You know, set a timer, get busy doing something else when I'm tempted to snack. I think it's important to moderate, not just to substitute. But there's some times when you just want something you can munch on, you know, and that's where popcorn is really helpful for me. And I know we aren't supposed to mindlessly eat things, but a lot of times when I want this is like when we're watching a football game or a basketball game or a, you know, baseball game on TV. Instead of just like chowing down on the chips and salsa mindlessly, I can pop a big bowl of popcorn in the microwave, just air pop it, and just use my own seasonings and popcorn flavorings. And popcorn actually has a lot of fiber in it. It's got 5 grams of fiber per 2 tablespoons of kernels. So pretty decent source of fiber when you consider the fact that I'm supposed to get about 25 grams and that 2 tablespoons of this, once it's popped, provides, you know, 20% of my daily fiber, right? Another thing that really helps me is if I can prep some things at the beginning of the week. Sometimes this is in the form of like complete meal preps, but even if I don't have time to do that, what I have been doing is just throwing some chicken breast in the slow cooker with whatever seasonings I want. Maybe just a little salt and pepper, everything but the bagel seasoning. This one has a little bit of taco seasoning in with it. And then I'll just shred it up and store it in the refrigerator. And we have it for salads, for wraps, for rice bowls or burrito bowls throughout the week. That takes me like hardly any effort, maybe 5 minutes of total work at the end of the day. And it gives us, you know, some lean protein to include in our meals all throughout the week. These aren't exactly earth-shattering tips or tricks or like brand new products. I mean, a lot of these are just, you know, basic things you could pick up in a standard grocery store. You're not gonna have to like mail order these items. But sometimes I think that's worth mentioning because I think, at least for me, I can get, you know, overstimulated by all the information and bogged down by all the different ideas and products. And these are just some basic ones that, you know, I keep on hand a lot of times in my kitchen, but especially when I have some nutrition and diet goals like I do right now. So hopefully there was something in here that was helpful. As always, thank you for watching. You can pick out one of these videos to watch next, and I'll see you there.